Parents dropped their children at school, trusting teachers completely with their safety. Schools represented protection, discipline, and responsibility for families everywhere in society. No parent imagined classrooms could silently become deadly places of tragedy. There were no alarms, warnings, or emergency signs indicating impending danger. Behind closed doors, negligence silently unfolded into unimaginable disaster slowly that morning. This tragedy was not sudden, violent, or caused by external forces. It occurred gradually, through ignored responsibility, neglect, and deliberate inaction continuously. One teacher noticed the danger clearly, yet chose complete silence deliberately. The adult responsible was neither unknown nor unfamiliar to concerned families. This teacher held authority over children's lives inside the school building. Parents trusted this individual completely, believing strictness ensured safety and care. Ultimately, one adult quietly decided which children deserved care, which did not. The school stood in a quiet, peaceful, unsuspecting suburban town. From outside, everything appeared orderly, safe, and well-maintained for visitors. Morning assemblies continued every day, giving parents a false sense of security. Parents waved goodbye confidently, never suspecting danger behind those school walls. Children entered classrooms, laughing, carrying backpacks, lunchboxes, and innocent daily expectations. Among the staff was one teacher known for strict disciplinary methods. Parents believed strict discipline equaled control, safety, and proper classroom management. Few questioned methods that occurred behind locked classroom doors regularly. Student complaints were often dismissed as exaggeration or minor behavioral missteps. Fear inside classrooms was misunderstood as obedience, discipline, and appropriate conduct. Unsafe practices quietly became habitual due to repeated tolerance and ignorance. Classrooms became overcrowded. Ventilation and safety measures were ignored consistently. Emergency exits were deliberately locked to maintain strict control over students. Safety policies existed officially but were rarely enforced in practice. Teachers noticed serious issues but avoided reporting them to authorities consistently. Administrators prioritized school reputation over addressing critical internal safety problems. Warnings and small incidents accumulated quietly. But the most dangerous failure wasn't medical. It was administrative, until one ordinary morning transformed everything into a horrifyingly tragic disaster. That morning began routinely with attendance, lessons, and structured classroom schedules. Children sat at desks while teachers prepared to begin instruction immediately. Some students appeared weak, sick, and visibly struggling to breathe properly. Others quietly asked permission to step outside for fresh air briefly. Their requests were denied immediately without consideration, discussion, or further thought. The teacher noticed their condition clearly, but deliberately chose to ignore. Discipline was prioritized over care, safety, or any human responsibility entirely. A small locked room was designated as punishment for disobedient students. Several children were forced inside to teach obedience and compliance strictly. The door was locked firmly, preventing exit or outside assistance completely. There were no windows, ventilation, fans, or airflow inside the room. Minutes passed slowly as fear and discomfort intensified for everyone present. Children knocked repeatedly on doors, calling desperately for adult help immediately. Their voices grew louder while breathing became increasingly difficult and painful. The teacher heard the cries clearly from nearby classrooms without intervention. Who would be noticed and who would be left unheard? Emergencies were his stage. Without chaos, he faded into the background. Lunchtime arrived, yet the punishment room remained firmly locked inside. Inside, oxygen levels dropped dangerously, causing panic, dizziness, and eventual collapse. Some children collapsed helplessly, struggling desperately to regain their limited breath. Others cried uncontrollably, attempting to assist fallen classmates desperately inside. No adult entered the room to check conditions or provide aid. Time passed slowly as air became insufficient for everyone trapped inside. Screams weakened gradually and were eventually replaced by exhausting, terrifying silence. Silence fell, every child trapped now facing irreversible danger. When the door opened, teachers immediately realized something was terribly wrong. Several children lay unconscious, unmoving, scattered across the punishment room floor. Some showed no response, despite repeated attempts to wake them fully. Panic spread among staff members witnessing the scene, and uncertainty increased. Critical minutes passed as adults hesitated, delaying life-saving help. Critical minutes passed as adults hesitated, delaying life-saving help. Minutes ticked away while protecting the school's image, not the children. Ambulances arrived late, every second passing with lives hanging in the balance. Parents were not immediately informed about the emergency inside the school. They waited outside, unaware that tragedy had already occurred unnoticed internally. Stretchers were moved quietly through hallways without providing proper explanation. Some children were transported alive to hospitals for emergency care immediately. Others never regained consciousness again despite medical efforts to revive them. Parents searched desperately, hoping to find their child alive and unharmed. Every second they waited, some children were already beyond help. Officials avoided clear answers, offering vague statements to confused parents outside. School management attempted to downplay the incident, calling it an unfortunate mistake. Internal reports were quietly adjusted to reduce responsibility and public backlash. Critical details were delayed, softened, or omitted before reaching authorities. But the truth could not stay buried. Once medical evidence began to surface, doctors confirmed severe oxygen deprivation affecting multiple victims inside the punishment room. One parent refused to accept the official narrative provided by authorities. They demanded a full, independent investigation into the incident immediately. Surviving children were finally allowed to testify about the frightening events. Their accounts matched with disturbing accuracy, confirming previous suspicions precisely. They described locked doors and ignored cries of desperate classmates. They described fear, darkness, suffocation, and complete absence of adult intervention. Authorities could no longer deny responsibility after repeated eyewitness testimonies. Police sealed the school for investigation to prevent further harm quickly. Past complaints against the teacher were uncovered, revealing long-standing neglect. Similar punishments had been reported previously, but were always overlooked deliberately. Those reports were ignored repeatedly by responsible officials over many years. The teacher was arrested for criminal negligence and endangering children directly. Charges included child endangerment, gross negligence, and multiple counts of death. Court proceedings shocked the entire nation, revealing systemic failures in schools. Parents spoke publicly, grieving deeply and demanding justice for lost children. Media coverage intensified, spreading nationwide outrage and calls for accountability immediately. Images of victims circulated widely across news platforms, shocking the public. Public trust in the education system collapsed completely after revelations emerged. Citizens questioned how schools could fail so completely and repeatedly. Investigators revealed multiple levels of institutional failure and negligence systemically. Officials admitted mistakes but avoided deeper responsibility for children's suffering. The teacher faced severe legal consequences for reckless disregard of duty. Sentencing could not reverse the damage caused to innocent young lives. Justice arrived too late to restore lost lives or happiness ever. The school was permanently closed following investigation, revealing extreme negligence and deadly failures. Could this tragedy have been avoided? Share your thoughts below. Teacher training programs were revised, completely emphasizing accountability, responsibility, and child protection. None of these changes comforted grieving parents mourning their irreparable losses publicly. Homes once filled with laughter became painfully silent after the tragedy occurred. Unopened lunchboxes remained exactly where children left them that morning. School uniforms were never worn again by students attending this location. Birthdays passed quietly for affected families. Surviving children suffered lasting psychological trauma. struggling to recover from intense fear. They feared classrooms, authority, and confined spaces intensely. Trust in adults responsible for children's safety was deeply damaged permanently. Nightmares followed the survivors long after the initial tragedy had occurred. This tragedy did not involve weapons, violence, or intentional physical assault. It was caused entirely by extreme negligence and consistent adult inaction, by authority exercised without accountability or concern for children's immediate safety, by silence rewarded instead of investigation or correction of unsafe practices. One careless decision became deadly inside a location meant for protection. Inside a building designed for learning, children suffered irreparable harm silently. Children rely completely on adult responsibility for survival, safety, and care. When adults fail, escape becomes impossible and consequences often irreversible forever. Schools shape children's futures, either protecting or endangering them, profoundly always. Unchecked authority turns institutions into dangerous places for innocent, trusting children. This story is not isolated. Similar incidents happen under systemic neglect. It can happen anywhere under identical circumstances where complaints are ignored, especially in places where reputation matters more than protecting children's lives. Every warning sign must be taken seriously to prevent irreversible tragedies. Every child's voice deserves attention, care, and immediate response from adults. Ignoring fear or distress can result in irreversible consequences for children. Innocent lives always pay the price for negligence and unchecked authority. We must learn lessons before another tragedy occurs in similar settings. If this story disturbed you, it was necessary to raise awareness. Awareness remains the strongest form of prevention against negligence in schools. Question authority figures who demand blind trust from children and families. Listen carefully when children speak, as their warnings must never be ignored. Never dismiss fear as misbehavior. Children's distress must always be validated. Share this story now. Let silence never triumph over children's safety. Expose negligence before tragedy repeats. Protecting children from preventable harm effectively. Demand accountability from powerful institutions responsible for children's education and welfare. If you believe schools must protect children, raise your voice publicly. Support stories that demand responsibility and challenge unsafe practices immediately. Subscribe our channel for more real-life cases exposing hidden dangers and accountability failures. Stories uncovering systemic failures ensure no child's voice goes unheard ever. Stories giving voice to the unheard make communities stronger and safer collectively. And this is happening in schools even today. Are we really paying attention? Like, subscribe, and share the silent chapters, because ignoring the voices of suffering children lets tragedy repeat